Hey guys, welcome back. This is the Jedi Council, Young Jedi CCG YouTube channel. Please give us a like, give us a subscribe on the channel, and get notified of our newest videos. So this is another deck tech video today, and this is going to be another trip down memory lane. This deck is actually predates the original World Championship decks that I posted. So I posted the Awesome Amidala and Tanks a Lot from the first World Championship, and at that time Menace of Darth Maul and Jedi Council were both legal. So what I have for you today actually is the championship decks from when only Menace of Darth Maul was legal. So this was from really the major tournament Origins, when that was the only set legal. And these are the championship decks that were played by Brian Fred, who won that tournament. So I'm just going to start off today with the light side deck. And before I get into this, I will say I think these decks are just excellent for new players if you're just picking up the game, because you'll see they don't have the synergies that future modern Young Jedi deck making will have with, you know, weapons and battle cards and characters that all interact with each other. Really, these cards are mostly all about the stats. And so good for newer players because it evaluates and shows you, okay, how do I know which cards to play, which ones are good, that sort of thing. So let's get right into it. So for our red dot, we do have a mixture of about half Jedis and half small characters. And so the first one we have is the namesake card of the game, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Young Jedi. So we do have 2 copies of that. So again, you're going to notice in these decks, we're not trying to transport it all. So we're not going to play multiple copies of our key characters. We're going to play 2. That way, if you accidentally get stuck with one, it's not going to really harm you too bad. So we've got 2 characters of Obi-Wan Young Jedi. And again, he's just a very powerful card with the 5 and then the 3 destiny. So that's why he makes the cut. So we've got our 2 Obi-Wans. Then in addition to that, we see 1 Qui-Gon Jinn. So Qui-Gon overall is actually a much worse card statistically because his destiny is only a 1. His deploy goes up to 6 instead of the 5 of Obi-Wan. And really the only benefit to that is you get the extra power and 1 extra location dot there in the desert landing site. But we're just playing 1 Qui-Gon Jinn because those 1 destinies are very punishing to draw. And then similarly, we're playing 1 Mace Windu. Basically the same card as Qui-Gon, except he's got 1 higher destiny, 1 higher damage, and he does have those bonuses on Coruscant, which can be relevant because at this era of the game, most of the bonuses are concentrated to Tatooine. Then to close out the dot, we do actually have 4 copies of the Ishi Tib. Again, this is just a diamond card, so it's non-unique, and its stats are fairly decent across the board. Decent power, decent destiny, decently low damage, just a very medium statistical card, and that's what he's in here for. So we actually have 4 copies of that, or excuse me, 5 copies of that. So that is finishing off our dot. Then moving on to our blue, we have one of the great cards of the game, especially in this era, Anakin Skywalker, the pod racer pilot. So, I mean, he's a 4 destiny, which is great. And power of destiny is, you know, pretty good, probably 4-ish in this era, maybe 3 to 4, but obviously can, you know, widely range. And then the whole thing is if you get this guy in the pod race arena, that's just going to be unstoppable because he'll be, even with a blaster, he'll be 3 plus 2 destiny draws. So again, can't go too heavy on it though because we're not transporting anything. So we just play 2 Anakin Skywalker pod racer pilot to start off our blue dot. Then another fantastic statistical card we're playing 2 copies of, Padme Naberi, the Handmaiden. It's a 5 destiny. So she's basically Ishi Tib, 1 higher deploy cost, but 2 higher destiny. And again, in Young Jedi, destiny is really king. So we got 2 Padmes. Got one Jar Jar in here. Again, just a decent statistical card. You know, a little higher power, but a little higher deploy. So got one of that. Then we got one Yoda. Again, he's going to be comparatively to Jar Jar. He's got 2 more damage there, but also 2 more destiny. So again, just a little bit on the expensive side, but still a decent statistical card. Then we've got Captain Tarpals. Again, 1 less power, 1 less deploy. So again, you can kind of see what we're doing here is it's all the characters that are high destiny, but medium powerish range. And then to finish out that dot, we've got a couple non-uniques in 3 copies of the Naboo Officer Battle Planner. So again, 4 destiny. You see these kind of similar statistics on a lot of the cards. So key thing is obviously anything that's a 3 power, it's going to beat his basic battle droid. So getting up to a 3 is where you want to be. So there's your blue dot. Then moving on to the green dot. This is where we have to take a bit of a beating because green dot is bad. We're going to start off with our Gungan Warrior Infantry, and that's just basically a starter deck card. 3 destiny, not the greatest, and 2/1 for the power and damage. And we're actually playing a full 5 copies of that, surprisingly. Or excuse me, we're actually playing 6 copies of that. Again, the green dot is pretty bad, especially for the light side in this era. The dark side has Sith probe droids, which are really good, but light side is going to be forced to play these bad Gungans. And then the only quote-unquote mains you're really able to play is we do play 1 Queen Amidala, the ruler of Naboo. Again, just a great card being that it's a 6 destiny. So even though she's higher damage than she should be, she's a 6 destiny. And then we play the 2nd Queen Amidala, which is the royal leader. Again, just a different version of Queen Amidala, same stats with different bonuses. And then lastly, to finish off that dot, we do have C-3PO Anakin's Creation. This card is fantastic. You'd play much more of this if you could, but again, just because of the uniqueness problem, you can't play any more of this. But this is just an absolute all-star with 0 damage, 5 destiny, 1 deploy. You can't really ask for a better scrub card than that. But again, just being conservative and making sure we don't get clogged in our hand with some things and not be able to play them. We're only playing 2 copies of that. So there is our green dot. So as you can see, you could basically summarize up the characters with just statistical efficiency and no more than 2 of any of our mains. It's pretty much exactly what you could say is going on here. Then we get to our weapons. The main staple of this dot, of course, is the blaster rifle. You all know what that does. 6 destiny, 1 deploy, just really the gold standard for a weapon. So we're running 6 of those. Then in terms of our specialty weapons, we are running 1 Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Again, just if you can match that up with Obi-Wan, you're just gold. And then you've got a couple other people that can use that for the any other Jedi. You've got Mace and Qui-Gon, and then you've got Yoda. So enough that we can take a chance on one of them for sure. And then we do play 2 copies of Iope. Again, this is a card that received a beta printing errata. The errata was the original one was missing a counter. So it's basically you take the 1 destiny off comparative to a blaster rifle, and you get 1 extra power dot for Anakin and Padme. Very key is that any other character can still use this though. So, but if you put this on your Anakin or your Padme, that's where you really want to be, is getting that extra bonus. Then we do have 1 blaster, again, just to help with cycling. If you're playing like a Mace Windu or a Qui-Gon Jinn, it's really nice to be able to get a weapon down with them. And then, like I said, finishing off with the 6 blaster rifles that I mentioned earlier. Then for the yellow dot battle cards, the key card of this era is the Negotiations Were Short. Just so versatile, high destiny, high power bonus. So this is just a total go-to. So we're actually running 8 of that. obviously it's going to start to get predictable that if you have a battle card, it's going to be the first guy in your battle plan. So we do have, just for a little bit of mixing it in there, 2 copies of De Being's Hereabouts Kawezi, which says 3+ if fighting on Tatooine, and you do get an extra destiny, and it doesn't have to be the first character, obviously. So that helps mix it up if you need to, just so that you're not always running every single battle card as the negotiations were short. So there is our yellow dot. Then finally, closing out our purple dot. Again, I've mentioned several times in the video, we're not transporting. So what we are doing is we're going to be playing some starfighters. We've got 3 copies of Bravo 1, just because, again, this is the era in the game where you're intercepting just by playing a card. So uniqueness has no relevance on starships, because you're only ever doing 1 intercept at a time. And they don't go to the table. They just fight the ship and then resolve. So this, as long as you don't draw 1, will destroy a battleship. So that's pretty much guaranteed hit. And so it is a 5 destiny, which is still very high, not a 6 like the Naboo Starfighter, but what it brings to the table is you basically cannot miss unless you draw your 1 Qui-Gon Jinn. So then you do have 2 copies, just to mix it up a little, 2 copies of the Naboo Starfighter, and of course those are a 6 destiny. And then to round out the dot, we have our locations. Naboo is the Theed Palace. And again, the interesting thing to note is you can't choose location bonuses on some cards. Like the Naboo officer we have over here. This is the only Naboo officer we're eligible to play, and he's got his bonus in the Gungan Swamp, which is too bad. But you can see when we can choose, like with these Gungans, we choose to have it be at the Theed Palace, because that is the only location we have access to in the Menace of Darth Maul. So that comes, results in some weird decisions where, okay, we have to play the Theed Palace, so we have to play the Infantry Warrior Gungan because he has the bonuses in the Theed Palace. Again, that's one of the glitches about this game, where if you're playing with only 1 set and not the other 2, they didn't release all the locations in the first set. So I would have said, if I were doing this over, you would release all the locations in kind of a core set, and then the expansions just wouldn't have locations. But they just rationed out the locations set by set. So it resulted in some weird stuff. But we'll look at the other location bonuses that are relevant too. We've got the capital city for Coruscant. That's not relevant specifically for anything. But then what is highly relevant is the Tatooine Podrace Arena. So we do have a full 3 copies of this. Like I said, Tatooine is the main battleground in this expansion where you're going to be fighting over. And the location bonus here is huge. We looked at Anakin Skywalker earlier. He's got a 3+ in the Podrace Arena. You've got these 5 Ishi Tibs that all have 2+ in the Podrace Arena. I think that's really the only other things. Jar Jar and Padme, unfortunately, have their bonuses in the marketplace, which is not going to help you out. But again, you're playing them for the stats. But yeah, so that's where the locations for those Ishi Tibs and for Anakin, this is really the guys that are going to worry about that. And it's a 4 destiny, and you can only play so many starships anyway. Because starships do clog up your hand. You're not allowed to discard starships during the discard phase, but you are allowed to discard, or the even up step they call it. You are allowed to discard extra locations. So that is the final dot here, the purple dot with all of our location cards. So guys, this is, like I said, great for new players to see this, because this is what a deck looked like. Actually, this is, like I said, the championship deck from this era in the game, with only the Menace of Darth Maul released. So it's very interesting to think about, because if you kind of just cobbled together your own deck from buying, a set of Menace of Darth Maul or a few packs of Menace of Darth Maul, it would look very similar to this, quite honestly. So this is, again, just showing that at this era of the game, we were just playing for statistics. We weren't playing for doing anything clever, and that was okay. This is what got the game started. It's an easy, fast-paced battling game, features some different characters, but at this era, no characters are really doing anything cool or signature or matching up for themselves, weapons and battle cards, other than, like I said, we had this one Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber that we could get lucky with potentially. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like I said, a nice historical trip. I think a lot of people forgot about this championship list just because the awesome Amidala and the tanks a lot really overshadowed it. Let me get my lights out of the way here a little so I can get a nice thumbnail for you guys of the list. But yeah, I think it was overshadowed a lot by the decks that featured from both the first two sets. But yeah, this is what the light side championship deck looked like. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned next time for dark side.